of the material that's down in the cargo hatches and heaped up on the stern, have it analyzed at a laboratory, and find out if indeed that is a cargo of corn. We're moving to the bow of the ship, toward the bow, up the port rail. You can see some of the items that are lying there. Something there that looks like a pump, perhaps a part of a bilge pump. We're puzzled by these structures. There are two of them. Not quite sure what they are. The fact that it's rounded on the wide end could mean that it fit around a mast, some sort of a spreader or even a crow's nest structure. We're attempting to identify those by looking at drawings and pictures of other vessels. There's the other one, the matching piece, off in the distance. This one happens to be setting up on end, on its side, and again, looking to identify exactly what those are. Looks like another bilge pump, and that looks like the mast that piece is actually attached to. So whether it's some sort of a spreader or perhaps a crow's nest to walk on up there, again, subject to further investigation. At the very stern of the ship, or toward the stern, you can see the twin boilers. There's one on the right and one on the left. The two come together at the top to form a one stack, and you can see right there is the beginnings of the chimney stack. The stack itself came off during the storm. This is one of the masts that's broken off, and you can actually see a cleat mounted to the side of it, and again a support there which would have supported either perhaps the next floor or perhaps the roof of the crew's quarters back on the poop deck area. There's the part that's broken off.
I very carefully reviewed all the video acquired by the M rover, as well as the pieces of video shot by our drop camera and the diver's video, and was able to thoroughly reconstruct a drawing of how the ship rests on the bottom of Lake Michigan today. Now, studying the drawing as well as all the historic information we have, everything really matches up with what we know of the C Akeley.
While none of the acquired video or observations from the divers offered proof of an identity like a name board or hull numbers, the images of the wreck are consistent with the Akeley's final moments as reported by the 12 survivors. At 10:30 on Sunday, November 11, 1883, the pony-fed pipe from the port boiler was ripped off due to high seas, and steam began leaking out. If the boiler ran out of water, it would blow up. Chief Engineer Driscoll needed to alternate power to the starboard boiler. Second Engineer Cano climbed on the scalding hot piping to reach the valve when he heard two rifle shot-like sounds. The guy chain supporting the smokestack had snapped off, and with the groan of a steel tree falling, the Akeley's funnel toppled over the side at 11:30 Sunday evening. Video evidence shows the remaining lower portion of the smokestack and the position of the brake. The Akeley continued to drift, and when things couldn't appear worse, the waves plucked one of the two lifeboats from the vessel. The next day, Monday, November 12th, brought signs that the end was near. To try to ride out the storm, Captain Stretch ordered the anchor set. M rover video captured these images of the anchor chain, which ran out the starboard hawse pipe. It would have been no easy task to accomplish in high seas, but following orders, deckhands Crawford, Murray, Kurtz, and Smith managed the task, and here is the evidence of their accomplishment. The crew battled the storm at anchor overnight, and by late morning the situation looked hopeless. Another vessel, the driver, bound from Chicago to Grand Haven, came upon the Akeley at anchor and taking on water. On board, the crew of the Akeley saw the other ship and had differing opinions about a rescue. A dozen men felt the Akeley was ready to plunge beneath the waves, and they chose to launch the remaining lifeboat in an attempt to row to safety on the driver. The captain and 5 men thought it safest to wait on the Akeley until the driver could approach to the lee side and safely take them off. As Captain Miller, the driver, was racing to the ship, a big wave hit the Akeley. The stern mast cracked off and the ship foundered. In video taken by M-Rover, we see the broken mast looming eerily as a testament to the final disastrous moments of this once proud ship. Survivors reported that the Akeley plunged to the bottom stern first. Within a few minutes, the ship and the 6 men who chose to remain on board were consumed by the lake. M-Rover video of the rear deck shows the buildup of what can be assumed as the corn cargo, which shifted and fell to the stern as the ship hit the bottom 275 feet down. Captain Miller, of the driver, was able to reach the Akeley's lifeboat and bring her cargo of 12 exhausted men safely aboard his ship. The captain didn't risk approaching the wave-tossed eastern shore, but instead turned into the wind and headed back for Chicago with the 12 survivors. For his heroics, Captain Miller was awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor. Well, that was the end of the C Akeley. It was not the end of her history. MSRA learned from Patrick Labadie, well-known Great Lakes maritime historian, of the real beginnings of the Akeley.
Its engine predates the ship by some 20 years. The machinery for the Akeley came out of a gunboat, and it was a steamer called the USS Trefoil, built in East Boston, Mass. In 1865 for the Federal Navy. There isn't any evidence that it ever served, in the Civil War, but it was used on the coast for 2 or 3 years before it was brought into the lakes. And after it was retired from the Navy, it was called the General H.E. Payne for a short while. The ship ended its career when it served on Lake Michigan and wrecked at Grand Haven Harbor in fall of 1879. It was abandoned after its loss at Grand Haven Piers, but the machinery was later salvaged, and in 1880, when the Akeley Company decided to build its new bulk freighter, this machinery was recycled and installed in the steamer Akeley.
Patrick's insights into the origin of the Akeley's machinery caused the team to dig a bit deeper. They began researching General Halbert Eliezer Payne, after whom the Trefoil was renamed, and happened across what could only be considered an interesting and somewhat coincidental twist. Mr. Payne, who was born in 1826, joined the Union Army in 1861 as a colonel in the 4th Regiment Wisconsin Volunteers, and was promoted to the rank of Brigadier General in March 1863, serving in the Civil War. He resigned in 1865 when he was elected as a Republican to the U.S. Congress representing Wisconsin, and served from 1865 until 1871. As a congressman, General Payne is most noted for introducing on February 2, 1870, a joint congressional resolution which would establish the National Weather Service. The resolution was passed by Congress and signed into law on February 9, 1870, by President Ulysses S. Grant. Coincidentally, without the services provided by the National Weather Service, the team from MSRA would not have been searching at the precise spot where they were to discover the C Akeley. The wreck was not the ship they intended to find, but it was a ship with a very interesting life, a tragic death, and unique ties to General Payne himself. So a not-so-famous general in a very famous war goes on to become a little-known politician who changed the way the weather is tracked and predicted. General Payne's accomplishments changed the lives of all people who benefit from weather information and put in place the tools to help the researchers and agencies like NOAA, the Coast Guard, and the team from MSRA to discover lost ships. The method used to search for the Chicora is still valid. Another ship, which is now believed to be the C Akeley, simply came to rest within the high probability area and was found in the course of the search. Perhaps in the near future, with the guiding spirit of the late General Payne resting comfortably from his newly rediscovered place in history, the team of dedicated and persistent researchers will complete its original quest to find the long-lost and still missing Chicora.
Once was a sailor, a young man and brave. Da-da-dum-day, da-da-dum-dee. The nights were unsleepless, the peace I would crave, carrying me home to the sea. Da-da-dum-day, da-da-dum-dee. Drift away, sailor boys, on the deep sea. Worry no more, for you're safe now with me. Rest in my arms, my sweet melody. Da-da-dum-day, oh da-da-dum-dee. Drift away, sailor boys, on the deep sea. Worry no more, for you're safe now with me. Rest in my